Hey there, everyone. I'm Walter Benasiak.
I'm Heather Roos.
And I'm Ayanna Wade.
And this is Top 5. Last week, we took a look at the best Muppets, but not all of these lovable characters are so lovable. With any property that's been around as long as the Muppets, it's inevitable that not every character is going to be a Kermit the Frog or Fozzie Bear. Plenty of experiments with new Muppets haven't always wielded phenomenal results over the years. Some of them have just missed the mark, while others are acquired tastes.
Most people love the Muppets and all their quirky, wacky personalities. However, when looking back, a few of these characters don't exactly gel with the quality put out by this franchise during its 6-decade-long run. But which are the weakest of the bunch? These are the top 5 worst Muppets.
Number 5. Gorgon Heap. I sure hope you think eating Muppets is funny. We can't talk about Gorgon Heap without mentioning his predecessor, Big V. Big V was a part of one of the Muppets' most successful and trademark early sketches, the Glowworm. In the sketch, Kermit sits on a wall and eats a couple worms that crawl close to him. When he tries to eat a third worm, Kermit finds out that it's actually a long nose connected to a giant monster. That monster was Big V, who always ate Kermit at the end of the bit. It's a classic sketch, definitely amusing and, as I said, a staple skit for the Muppets early on. When the Muppet Show started in 1976, Big V was replaced by a similar monster called Gorgon Heap. Gorgon was pretty much similar in every way. Sometimes he appeared as a full-bodied Muppet, meaning he was more of a costume with a puppeteer inside, and other times as a live hand Muppet, like Fozzie Bear or the Swedish Chef. He was made a bit less threatening looking than Big V, and had interchangeable horns and ears that sometimes appeared on his head. The thing about Gorgon Heap was, he just wasn't very funny. I mean, you can only take the eating everything bit so far. It worked in the Glowworm sketch because it was designed that way, but making that characteristic bigger for more complicated scenes didn't work very well. The fact that his gimmick was eating the other Muppets also doesn't hold up great. He devoured all our favorites as we were left shocked at home, wondering if they were dead for good. At least the little kid version of me sometimes was. I don't want to see Kermit, Rolf, or even Miss Piggy be consumed by this monstrosity over and over. The Glowworm sketch is one thing, but most of his parts on the show weren't terribly clever and lacked the enjoyment of the more popular bits.
Number 4. Pepe the King Prawn. Next up is a small fry, okay? This might be controversial since a lot of people are fond of this particular crustacean, but beyond his humor relying a lot on miscommunications and bad puns, his repeating of okay at the end of everything was grating enough to make our list. He is almost as full of himself as Miss Piggy, which is not a simple feat, and hits on anyone with a pulse.
You just let me know if I press too hard, okay, or not hard enough. I'm just reading the copy.
No, that's not the copy. Look, eyes up.
Then I'm looking at your legs. Hey, Cheryl. How'd you like to meet me at the whoopsie bin?
Pepe's gravelly muttering is more irksome than outright bad, but it's only made worse when his popsicle stick friend, Topo Sticky, joins in with its high-pitched tone. His large mouth in comparison to his tiny head and wild hair is funny, but better achieved by other puppets. Also, that one tooth makes it look like there's a speck of food on his lip, and I will never unsee it. Pepe is a hand and rod puppet, and as a prawn, he has multiple arms. This gives the puppeteers extra limbs to work with, but we usually only see the 2 upper arms, like any other Muppet, while the rest are sewn in pockets or kept out of frame. It's a wasted opportunity since any other personality in this form could do those added appendages justice. Can you imagine Animal with an extra pair of hands? There are moments his limbs are all in motion, and it's the most animated he gets, but it's almost bordering as breaking character to get him to that point. In the end, he's small and mostly harmless, but whatever you do, just don't call him a shrimp.
Number 3. Clifford. If you had to choose one Muppet to take over the mantle of hosting a Muppet show, who would you choose? It would be Clifford, right?
Who?
Clifford is a pinkish humanoid catfish Muppet. He was first introduced to audiences on the Jim Henson Hour. There he was portrayed as a laid-back, cool guy who always wore sunglasses, had dreadlocks, and played the bass. Doesn't seem too bad, right? Sure, if that's where Clifford's Muppet journey ended, he wouldn't be on this list. But in 1996, a new Muppet show began airing on ABC. It was called Muppets Tonight, and much to everyone's shock, Kermit was not the host. He was now the station manager. Kermit asks the Muppets who wants to be the new host. Everyone else runs out except Clifford, who was too busy talking to his girlfriend on the phone to notice what was happening. So Kermit just hires him. To make matters worse, Clifford's personality was toned down. His signature sunglasses were replaced with real eyes. He wore more appropriate clothing to be a host. He became boring and forgettable. He was like any generic late-night host. Later, he returned for a couple of Muppet movies with his old personality and sunglasses, but the damage had been done. He will always be remembered as a lame host who had the awful task of trying to fill Kermit's shoes. Number 2. Robbin the Frog. Like many unmarried adult men in TV, Kermit had a nephew that occasionally hung out with him. Robbin was mainly annoying and small, as he loved to remind the audience constantly. I understand that he was supposed to be the child's voice and point of view on the show, but couldn't he be less irritating? He had one bit, talking about how small he was. He sang adorable little songs and was always honest and innocent to make sure you knew he was lovable and cute. It was grating. Every time he was on screen, I just wanted to punt his small Muppet body. He wasn't funny or interesting, just naive. The Muppets were supposed to be edgy and sarcastic, at least when the show first premiered. Robbin didn't fit in with this idea, or any of the other Muppets really. Too childlike, too sincere, and too much.
And the number 1 worst Muppet is Waldo C. Graphic. What makes a Muppet a Muppet? A handcrafted design? A well-thought-out comedic character? Does a super obnoxious animal clown computer graphic count? Officially, yes. Waldo C. Graphic is literally that. He's technically a Muppet, but not at all in the traditional sense. He takes some explaining. Waldo first appeared in the Jim Henson Hour in 1989. He was a part of the Muppet television segments where he served as the show's demographics expert. Perhaps what he's most known for, though, is his appearance in the Disney World theme park attraction Muppet Vision 3D. In the show, he's created by Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and is constantly trying to escape the screen. He's portrayed as very energetic and way over the top, often bouncing around the picture the entire time he was seen. He even transforms himself into Mickey Mouse at the end of the program. Waldo's off-putting personality and strange concept pegged him for our number 1 spot. He hasn't been seen in a Muppet production since the Disney World show. While the idea of a computer-animated Muppet interacting with live-action counterparts didn't really land in the late 80s or early 90s, it is an interesting notion. On the Jim Henson Hour episode, Secrets of the Muppets, Henson gave us a behind-the-scenes look at Waldo's inner workings. This character's purpose was to be puppeteered live with an early motion capture puppet contraption. The image was rendered later for higher resolution, but the technology just wasn't quite there yet. This, of course, calls to mind motion capture performances that have gotten very sophisticated in recent years. The only difference here was that Waldo was still controlled by a puppeteer instead of a full-body performer. Is this something Henson would have developed more if he was able to continue his work into the 1990s? We'll never know, but it is fascinating to think about. Waldo may be our worst Muppet, but the technology that created him, in combination with the innovative genius of Jim Henson, could have given us something truly unprecedented. This week on my personal channel, my old friend Brian Porter joins me to review the DC animated movie Batman Gotham by Gaslight. That and much more content is available on the Awesome Walter YouTube channel right now.
We want to hear what you guys think.
Who's your least favorite Muppet? What do you want to see us cover next on the show? Leave a comment and let us know.
To keep in touch, you can like my Facebook page or follow along on Twitter.
And you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
And you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, or Twitch, where I stream on Wednesday nights.
We'll catch you right back here next week with a brand new episode of Top 5. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me.
Will you stop it with the Kermit impression?
sorry. I just really love that song.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were Walter.
Well, his voice does sound a lot like Kermit's.
I don't sound like Kermit!